Is OnlyFans helping or hurting women? Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. I want to talk a little bit about the OnlyFans, Instagram, social media model phenomenon, the ways it can possibly negatively affect women. Whether or not it's actually empowering for women or if it's actually destructive to women. This is a huge topic, so I'm not going to go into all the aspects of it in this video. There's just a few things that I really wanted to speak on and make mention of. I actually saw a video on TikTok and I was going to try to find it and save it so that I could show it here, but I could not find it online anywhere. I don't know if it's still there, but it was a young girl on a podcast. She has an OnlyFans. I think she's a very successful OnlyFans girl. I don't know her personally. She made this video where she's being interviewed by these guys and she was basically saying that she hates men. She hates men. She never wants to see men in public. If a man who follows her on OnlyFans sees her in public, like, he better keep walking, he better not talk to her. Like, she does not want to have anything to do with men because she hates men. And these guys were like, yeah, but these men actually, they pay your bills. And she's like, good, they pay my bills and that's all I want them for. I saw this video and it honestly broke my heart. It brought up feelings for me for a few different reasons. Before I dive into this, a little disclaimer. Look, I believe in personal freedom. I believe in personal choice. You can do what you want with your body. If you want to show your body, it's your body. I was an Instagram lingerie model for like 3 years. I don't really do it as much anymore. I have a few videos talking about my experience, why I did it, why I stopped, and things like that. You can check out those videos. I'm not going to dive into that here. I was not an OnlyFans girl. I've never done porn or anything like that. I didn't even post nudity or anything. So I didn't necessarily go down the road that some of these girls have been down, but because I do have a little bit of experience with this, and because I was actually a bit older, I was 38 years old when I started posting lingerie content, so I'm quite a bit older actually, because most of these girls are starting at 18, so I started like 20 years after some of these girls are starting posting this stuff. I had a different perspective on it, and I think I was able to view it a little bit more objectively than I think some of these younger girls who were going into it at a much younger, more naive age. So I wanted to share a few things and a few concerns. So again, like I said, if you're doing this or thinking about doing it, I'm not shaming you for anything. I would highly advise women to not go down that road. So if it's something that you're thinking about doing and you're going to ask me my opinion, I would suggest that you don't. If you are doing it or you're like, hey, I'm going to do it anyway, I'm not here to shame you. That's just not my style. However, I feel like I see a lot of men who act like the women that do this are getting so much from men. And yes, if women are getting paid, they are getting a financial investment. Although I don't think the amount of money that most women are getting paid is actually what is being portrayed. There are some women who are getting paid very big bucks. Not every woman is getting paid big bucks to do this. Not every woman is making a ton of money on OnlyFans. Not a lot of women. When I was an Instagram lingerie model, I had a big following, I had a ton of engagement, I got paid nothing. I got gifted a lot of stuff from brands. I got paid nothing for my actual Instagram content. The idea that all of these girls are just making so much money, not everybody is. At a certain point, I do think we have to ask ourselves, and this is not just with OnlyFans, this could be with any career out there. You have to ask yourself, is making this money worth what I have to do for this money? And that's important for anybody to ask themselves when they're going to get into any industry. You know, if we talk about pro athletes, you know, there's a lot of controversy about pro athletes and the toll that it takes on their bodies and things like that. It's like, if you're going to be a pro athlete and you're going to make that kind of money, are you willing to make the sacrifice that you have to make, that you have to put your body through in order to do that? Like, there's certain sacrifices for money that we need to ask ourselves as people, are we willing to make that sacrifice? For me personally, making money was never worth compromising my own values. And there's been many situations, not just online, but in everyday life, where I probably could be making a ton of money right now if I was much more willing to be lenient with my morals. But I wasn't willing to do that, and that was my choice. I have to own that choice. If somebody else made a different choice, they have to own that choice. That's on them. But I think there's a lot of men who perceive that women are doing these OnlyFans, will say. I'm harping on the OnlyFans. It's not the only thing out there, but that's the thing that most people kind of are familiar with, so that's why I'm focused on that. And I think a lot of men think these women do this and they're only getting benefits from it and they're not losing anything from it. Yes, if women are making money off of it, then they are getting money. So that's value. I think a lot of men see it as the satisfaction that women are getting from the attention from men. And yes, at our core, as women, as feminine women, deep down, we want to be seen and witnessed by men. We want to be seen and witnessed by the masculine. On a superficial level, that's just getting checked out by a man. Like, that's what we as women will often settle for, but that's never going to satisfy us. What our deeper need typically is as women is to be fully seen and witnessed by a masculine partner who has focused presence on us, who can see through our surface and can see our depth, can see who we truly are on the inside, the good, the bad, like to see all of us. And we deeply crave that as women. We'll settle for the superficial. I consider superficial attention from men to be kind of like a quick sugar rush, like having a quick, like, I don't know, like a candy bar, some kind of like a quick, like empty calorie snack. It's like, it'll give you that sugar rush, but you're gonna get an energy crash later. Whereas actually having a man fully see you at your depth, that's like a nourishing meal. That's like being nourished with, like, that's like eating like a big fat steak, right? It's like, that's gonna keep you satisfied for a long period of time because you have that, like, you have that focused presence and attention. Whereas if you're constantly looking for that superficial, shallow attention, you keep looking for that sugar rush, you're gonna crash, and then you're gonna need that sugar rush again. It's like it's an addiction thing. It really is, because you're not getting that thing that you deeply crave. As women, we should not be ashamed of deeply craving to be witnessed, to be seen. We should never shame ourselves for that. We shouldn't shame ourselves for liking the surface attention either. However, if we're compromising our values and our morals or things that are important to us, or compromising ourselves in any way to get that attention, that's gonna wear us out. Like, it's gonna burn us out. It's not something that's sustainable over a long period of time. It becomes an addiction, it really does. And that addiction is gonna eventually tear you down and destroy you. What happens with these situations is a lot of these girls will post this content, they'll show their bodies, they'll show off, they'll get this attention from men, they'll get the money, they'll get like the quick, easy validation, but that satisfaction isn't really sustainable. They get the crash and then they got to do it again, and it becomes this addiction because men are not really fully seeing them for who they are. They're just seeing them as sexual objects, and that's why it becomes so tempting for young girls to make themselves into sexual objects, because they get more attention and they crave that, but they don't realize that it's never really going to satisfy them. And I could delve into the concept of, you know, how we commercialize sex and things like that. I'm gonna do that in a whole other video. I've had a few requests for a video about that topic. I'm not gonna dive into that here. I just kind of wanted to make this into a quick video. But the idea, the video that inspired this video for me to talk about, the girl on TikTok who basically just hated men and was really just using them for their money and attention on social media or on OnlyFans. There's a dark side to this that I don't think a lot of girls understand. And I don't think a lot of men understand this either. I have a whole video talking about limiting beliefs, and I encourage you to watch that video. I dive into this concept a lot deeper, but very often girls get into this life because they've been hurt by men in some way. So they already have like a belief that men are not good people, or that men only want them for sex, or that men are shallow and superficial, or something like that. Some kind of limiting belief about men. So they decide that instead of getting to know men or getting close to men, they're just gonna try to use men. It's very much a Samantha Jones, and I have a video all about Sex and the City, and it's the Samantha Jones, I'm gonna use him before he can use me. It's a protective mechanism. So these women decide that they're gonna get into this life because they're gonna use men and they're not gonna let men use them, because they already have a barrier against men, and they're doing this as kind of this way of, again, using the men before they use them. It's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna let him sexualize me. I'm gonna sexualize myself so that he can't sexualize me first, right? It's a power move. It's a wall up. As exposed as some of these girls are physically, there's a wall up that is protecting them from actually having to have human interactions with men. Very similar to the same way that men who are afraid of intimacy often use porn, because there is actually a barrier between him and the woman who's having sex in the video. He gets to watch without actually having to have the intimacy and connection. It's a very similar thing. It's a wall up, it's a protective mechanism. However, I can speak from my experience of just being an Instagram lingerie model. It doesn't attract the best men. Now look, I don't want to say that every man who's ever followed me or I've ever had an interaction with on the internet is a bad person. I've had some lovely men who have followed me. There are men who I know in real life, in person, who follow my content, who are wonderfully respectful. However, there are a lot of creeps that come out of the woodwork. If you already have a preconceived idea that men are bad or men are dangerous or all men are pigs or whatever. Being in that life and being in that world draws in so many more men who are like that. So you're literally calling in more men that already fit the belief that you already have about men. You're constantly reinforcing that limiting belief that you have about men. That's where you get the girls like in the video that I watched who basically are like, yeah, I hate men, I'm using them for everything I can get. That is anger and bitterness towards men that comes from pain and trauma. I don't know her life, but I can guarantee you she has pain and trauma around men from her past. I can guarantee it. Most of these girls do. Most women do. Most women have pain and trauma from men in our past. That's just unfortunately the way the world is nowadays. It's really no different than the men who come online and spew hatred about women, that spew the misogynistic, angry hatred, the men go their own way, women are no good, all women are users, all women are cheaters, all women are gold diggers, like all those kind of things that these men come online and spew. It's the same thing. We're doing the same thing to each other. And these women are doing this whole, I'm gonna use him before he uses me. These men are like, I'm gonna play her before she plays me. It's literally the same thing. And because we're attracting in more of the thing that we already believe, it's constantly reinforcing the idea in our head. For me, when I watched the video with this girl kind of like going off about men, it just broke my heart because I know that that's probably because of the type of men that she is attracting in by doing what she's doing. She probably does think men are awful because the world that she's put herself in is a world of awful men. And she probably put herself in that world because she already had a belief that men were awful, because she probably had experienced awful men in her life. That does not mean that all men are awful people. If you continue to put yourself in that mindset and you continue to believe that, the world will keep giving you the thing that you already believe. It breaks my heart when I see that, particularly with young girls, because I feel like, oh my God, you can change this. And I see it now as an adult, but when I was her age, I didn't see that kind of thing. And I mean, OnlyFans wasn't a thing when I was her age, but it breaks my heart because I know that that all comes from pain, all of it. I mean, when men are angry at women, when women are angry at men, I know it all comes from pain, and it breaks my heart because I feel like so many people are hurting right now, and I feel like these things are just reinforcing the pain that we already feel. As somebody who, again, I had an Instagram lingerie account. It was not intended to be a thirst trap for men. Many men saw it that way, and I do have to say that a big lesson that I had to learn from that experience was letting go of the control that I felt like I needed to have of people understanding what my message was. And I just had to really kind of be like, hey, this is what I'm putting out in the world. This is what I believe. This is what I think. If people misinterpret that, they're projecting their own thoughts onto me, and that's on them. And I really had to learn to let go of that control over needing people to see me a certain way. I learned a lot of important lessons from that. I think if you're a girl, if you are doing this, if you are doing the OnlyFans, the lingerie modeling, all this kind of, you know, Instagram modeling, whatever it is that you're doing, learn from it. What can you learn from this experience? What positive things are you getting out of this besides just the superficial money aspect of it? Like, what truly at your core are you getting from it? Or if you have done it and you're like, you know, feeling like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done it. I know some girls who were in that world who then left, who felt a lot of shame. What did you learn from it? What did you learn from the experience? I always encourage people to look at those things when they're actually looking back at their life and the things that they've done. I will say, as somebody who was older when I started posting lingerie content, I knew the questions to ask myself, and I knew the answers that I needed to have in order to do it. I had a much more grounded sense of life and life experience and what my goals were, and focus and direction and things like that. If you're a young girl and you're thinking about that life, because I get it, like, young girls are pressured into being overly sexualized. We're pressured into this world. We're shamed when we get into this world, but we're pressured into this world. It's like, I think it's a Lena Horne quote that's just like, everybody wants to see a woman naked, but when she takes her clothes off, now all of a sudden she's a hoe. It's like, I get that, and I get the pressure. I get the temptation for the attention, for the superficial attention, which is never really going to satisfy you, but I understand that temptation. The media, the mass media, I mean, we pretty much use porn to sell everything in our society. We use porn to sell trash bags. I saw like a sexual trash bag commercial the other day. I was like, what is the deal here? We push young girls into this sexualization so young, and then we shame them when they do, and that is definitely a problem. If you are a girl who's feeling that pressure, feeling that call, you're feeling a pull to do this, I want to share with you the questions that I asked myself doing this when I was older that I think are really important for you to sit down and ask yourself. Well, for one, sit with it. How does it feel in your body? Like, learn to tap into your intuition, because as a woman, regardless of what you're gonna do, tapping into your intuition, always the best thing. Your body knows. Your body knows before you do. If you have a closed off feeling to it, like you're feeling a contraction, don't do it. That's your body telling you it's not good. If you feel very open, okay, now you can ask yourself more questions. First big question that I would actually invite you to ask yourself is, are there any careers in life where having these photos, these images, these things on the internet that never go away, knowing that these things are going to be on the internet forever, are there any careers, life paths that this stuff is going to be a problem? You need to think about that. For me, I had lived enough of life, so I kind of knew generally like where my strengths were, where my weaknesses were, what my careers were going to be, and what was going to happen. I didn't know everything about the future, but I had a more grounded sense of who I was and where I might want to go with my life than I did definitely at 18. I personally have always had very non-conventional careers, so I can't speak to this necessarily from a personal experience, but I have heard some people. I actually heard like he was a dad who was talking about, you know, young girls and OnlyFans and things like that, and he was talking about the idea that there are a lot of careers that he's had in his life where you have to sign like morality clauses, and the idea that you will never do or have never done anything that would come out and reflect badly on the company. I don't know much about that personally, because I was in some pretty immoral career fields. I was a stand-up comedian, which is certainly not pornography. I made way less money and it was much more degrading, so there's that. There's a serious emphasis on being immoral, so I don't have personal experience with anything about morality clauses. I don't really know how I feel about morality clauses, but I'm just saying there are going to be obstacles in life that you may have to face if these are choices that you make with your life, and I think it's really important that you sit with that and you ask yourself that question. And another big thing I asked myself, and you know, I don't know if the answer I gave was the right answer or not, but I had to ask myself, look, if I'm sharing photos, if I'm sharing my body, if I'm showing things off on the internet, how do I feel if I meet a man and he is everything that I've ever wanted, but he doesn't want me because he doesn't want a woman who has those photos on the internet? Like, how am I going to be able to handle that? Like, am I okay with that? And that's a really important question, and that's not something I think I would have been able to answer for myself at a younger age. Like, it took me, I mean, when I started posting, I was going through a divorce. I didn't know if I was ever going to settle down with anybody or not. The conclusion I came to personally was because I was so grounded in my why of what I was doing. I believe, and I still believe, that any man who is going to be in a relationship with me is going to see past what I share online, or just that I've shown off my body, is going to see past that and see me for who I truly am. And I don't want to be with somebody that won't do that. Now, that's going to be a pretty deep guy. Not every man is going to pass that test. That does leave me in a position where I may be single, maybe indefinitely, or maybe for longer than I'd like to. I had to come to terms with that. That may not be the answer that you have. Do you want to be with a man that's okay with you sharing your body? You have to really ask yourself those questions. And I really do believe at a younger age, I wouldn't have had those answers at a younger age. Maybe some of you would, but I know I wouldn't have. It took me until I was much older. So I also really, truly encourage you with anything that you do, but especially with this, really get to know your why. Like, why are you doing this? Like, why is this the path that you're choosing? Don't just go into it blindly. This is not the lifestyle. It's not the path that I would encourage any girls to go into completely blindly. Is this really what you want to do? If it is, I'm not here to stop you. But asking yourself that and really being honest with yourself, because look, if we're talking about young girls who are like, you're 18, you're turning 18 and you want to do this, or you're in your 20s, you want to do this, all these things I'm asking you, all questions you should be asking yourself all the time. It's important lessons in life. Whether you think you want to do an OnlyFans or you don't, or you want to post, you know, videos of yourself in a thong twerking online, whatever it is that you decide that you want to do, it's really important to ask yourself these questions. You will thank yourself when you're older for asking yourself these questions when you're younger. Learning to tap into your intuition, learning to tap into your yeses and your nos, learning to tap into getting the big picture of things and really knowing what it is that you want and why you want it. These things are all lessons in life that are going to benefit you regardless of what you decide to do. And if you are a woman who's thinking about doing this and you do have a lot of pain around men, which most of us do, I highly encourage you to work on healing that pain. And if you find yourself in an environment, in any environment, where you're consistently meeting the same kind of men that are reinforcing this idea that there are no good men, or reinforcing some kind of limiting belief that's negative about men or life in general, I highly encourage you to step out of that world, to really expose yourself, pun intended, to a different world. And because the more that you put yourself in that situation, the worse that pain is just gonna get. And I make this video because I really want to encourage young women to heal, because I think there's many young men in the world who need healing, absolutely. But in this video, I want to speak specifically to women, and I just want to say that, oh, you're worthy of healing. You're worthy of healing. Your body is beautiful. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what the media tells you or anything. Your body is beautiful. Your feminine body and your feminine heart are beautiful. The things that make you innately feminine are beautiful. And I don't mean they're sexy, they're hot. I mean they're beautiful. You are a beautiful woman, and that is your inner radiance, that is your outer shine, that is everything. I want you to own the value of that. And as much as I believe it's your decision who you share that with and how you share that with the world, I would encourage you to value it enough to share it with the people who you deem to be worthy of sharing your body with. That's what I wish for you. That's what I wish for all of you. Because I want to see women heal. I want to see women really be empowered. Real true empowerment is owning your value and stepping into the world and saying, hey, this is my value, and I'm only going to call in the things that match me at my level. That's empowerment. And we don't have to lessen ourselves to cater to men, or to get validation from men's approval, or to just do something that may be questionable just to get money from men. We don't need to use men before they use us, because those men who want to use us are not worth our time and energy anyway. I really want to encourage women to own that within themselves, to own your value, own your worth, and own your beauty. And that's actually one of the things that I feel like when I was younger compared to being older, and I've talked about this in another video as well, but when I started posting this stuff, I had a lot of insecurities about my looks and my image and my body, but I knew my value in other areas. I had a lot of confidence in other areas of my life. My intelligence. I had a lot of confidence in my sense of humor, my writing, my performing skills. I would actually highly encourage women, all women really, but in this particular case, especially young women, to really tap into all of your feminine archetypes and all the parts of yourself that you want to cultivate. Because if you put yourself in this box of only being led by your sexuality, or only contributing to the world with your sexuality, that's not wrong, but there's more to you than that. I don't care, I've said this in other videos, I don't care if you think that your sex, your sexuality, your physical appearance is all you have to offer the world. I don't care if men are telling you that's all you have to offer the world. At the end of the day, that is not all you have to offer. I guarantee you, I don't even know you, and I can guarantee that you have other things to offer the world. And it's so important from a young age to cultivate those things. Your intelligence, your humor, your personality, your love, your nurturing, all the wonderful parts of yourself, your strength, your power, your confidence, all these different aspects of yourself, of the feminine archetypes, different aspects of you, of your personality. Cultivate all of those things, because if you don't cultivate those things in yourself and you limit yourself to only being seen a certain way, unfortunately, people are gonna just go along with that and only see you that way as well. They're not gonna see you half naked and actually find out about your intelligence. You have to find out about your intelligence and then present yourself in a sexual way, in an intelligent way. You have to cultivate those things within yourself. Don't limit yourself just because you think that you may have youth or beauty or a certain look or a certain image or something, or tapped into your sexuality. All those things are great and they're wonderful, but don't limit yourself, because the world will limit you. The world will absolutely limit you, and it is up to you to not let the world limit you, because you are a multi-dimensional being. You are a beautiful, wonderful, multi-dimensional being, and I want to see all women embrace all those aspects of themselves. So again, I did not make this video to judge or shame anybody. I wanted to make this video because the clip of the video that I can't seem to find online really inspired me to talk about this, because there is a dark side to doing this. This is not just easy money. I'm not making this video out of judgment or shame or anything over past choices, over what people will do. It's not about that. I just encourage people to really look within themselves, to own their worth, to own their value, and to really tap into their intuition and ask themselves the tough questions, the things things that they really need to look at before they make a decision, particularly a decision that may affect the rest of their lives quite drastically, you know, especially for young girls. This type of world and this type of thing, it can look really glamorous on the outside, but there's some downsides to it, and I just want everybody to be fully aware of that. Yeah, these were just my thoughts. It was kind of a random video. I wasn't intending to make this, but I saw that other video on TikTok and I was like, you know what, I really just want to talk about this. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you have any other questions on this topic or thoughts or anything you want to share, please be respectful. I don't want there to be judgment or shame around this issue. I just welcome respectful discussions. If you have any other topic requests, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you, and I love your suggestions. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up and be sure you subscribe to my channel. If you're a woman and would like to tap into your feminine energy, I have online courses, details in the description box below, along with links to all my social media accounts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.